Hello, Capricorn, and welcome to my channel, Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus signs, looking at your recent past, your current energy, and your immediate future, answering the question, what does the divine need you to see right now? As always, I've gone ahead and pulled the overall energy for the reading, as well as the overall theme for the reading, which we'll dive into in a second. I've already shuffled the deck that we'll be diving into, as well as the decks that I'll be using in the extended. Any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading with me is in the description box below. All right, Capricorn, let's start here by jumping into your recent past. You have open up to change with be humble. In your recent past, I feel like you've been going through some change. And I feel like you've both been going through some change and are currently still kind of going through some change. Like it just feels like you're in this period of life of change, no longer settling for how things have been and starting to kind of open up to a world that you're ultimately, wanting, one that is more fulfilling and not as just kind of going through the motions, right? Now, I do feel like it's interesting because there has been a little bit of resistance to this change, not because you don't want the change, but because there's a part of you that's afraid of it. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are consciously aware of that part of you that's afraid of it. But remember that 95% of our movements, choices, decisions, actions, and response to our reality is actually subconscious. Only 5% of how we interact with our reality comes from our conscious mind. And so there's a part of you that's kind of buried within that's almost like resisting these changes that you're wanting to happen. It's interesting. Now, in your current energy, you have leave the past behind with release control. So I feel like there's a part of you that's holding on to this either something from your past or the way that things have always kind of been for you. And it's not necessarily that you're meaning to, like, because I feel like there's this part of you that wants to let go of it. Like you don't want to be attached to something anymore. You don't want things to be the way that they've always been. You're wanting to make a change. You're wanting to kind of increase, like I said, Jake, your level of fulfillment instead of kind of just feeling like you're getting through the day or going through the motions or whatever the case is. But there's that part of you that's still holding on to control. So I'm hoping that when we pull tarot, we'll be able to kind of dive into where that's stemming from and how to kind of get out of that energy. Now, in your immediate future, you have worked through your feelings with assess the situation. Now, I feel like the hardest part of understanding how to allow ourselves to truly undergo change, because remember, change doesn't really happen outside of us, it certainly doesn't start there. It starts within, as above, so below, as within, so without. The changes that we make within are going to be reflected without. And so there's this need to kind of dive into, and that's kind of what I've been, getting at throughout this reading so far, is that there's something within you, some belief system or some fear, or something that's keeping you from being able to fully make the decisions that you're wanting to make and actually see the changes take place outside of you, because it's almost like your fear or your limiting beliefs or something is blocking your circumstances from being able to change and progress in the way that you are wanting them to. So, like I said, there's something here that's needing to be addressed. Now, your overall energy for the reading is higher ground with perfect setting. So, what I'm kind of seeing this is the theme for the reading, like what you can kind of apply to all your past, your current, and your future energies, is that right now you're needing to zoom out your perspective. This higher ground card is about looking at things from a higher perspective, getting that 30,000 foot view, getting to that top of the mountain so you can see the whole picture. Now, this perfect setting card to me is kind of like you are in a perfect position right now to make the changes that you're wanting to make. Like it just feels like this is the time for these changes to take place. But I just feel like there's some work that's needed in your inner world so that you can start watching these changes take place in your reality, because it doesn't have to be difficult, right? We think it does, but it doesn't have to be. But let's start, Capricorn, by looking at your recent past. What is Capricorn dealing with in their recent past? Clarifying, open up to change with be humble in Capricorn's recent past, please. Because that be humble card, I'm not saying, like, it doesn't feel like you're not humble. It just feels like that's kind of like more talking about your ego, alluding to your ego. Ooh, okay. You've watched some things, and I feel like specifically in your recent past, kind of fall apart. Like, it feels like it's like things started to kind of crumble, or maybe it feels like they did, or it ultimately feels like things had to fall apart to open the door for things to be able to fall back together. That's what I'm ultimately seeing is it's not necessarily that things fell apart, it's that you were releasing yourself from blockages. Now, I don't feel like you necessarily saw that at the time. I feel like at the time it was, oh my gosh, my world is ending, or I'm losing everything, or I'm in a position of of devastation, instead of looking at it, kind of as an opportunity. Now that's a really hard thing to be able to do on a spiritual journey, is kind of look at loss and things that kind of, leave your life, or, relationships that fall apart, to look at them as a blessing, because, they really can be an opportunity to get things to open the door for things that you're ultimately wanting, instead of kind of being stuck in energies. Because I don't necessarily feel in your recent past like you were all that happy. I feel like you were very like complacent. Like you were just kind of like okay with things, how things were, but you weren't happy with how things were. And I feel like that's why I don't even know if things fell apart completely, but I do definitely feel like things kind of you experienced some crumblings of the foundation, I feel like, that you had built. But it's not because it's not a bad thing. I do feel like you are setting yourself up for much better. Recent past year for Capricorn, even if you can't see that yet. Recent past for Capricorn, but definitely dealing with some things kind of falling apart here. Yeah, there's the Four of Wands in reverse. Oh my gosh, this is exactly what I just said. Whatever it was with the Four of Wands in reverse and the Wheel of Fortune here, whatever it was that you were trying to create or build on, it didn't have a solid foundation. It didn't have, you weren't building on, it's like you weren't building out of hopes of fulfillment. You were building out of fear of worst case scenario. So for instance, instead of pursuing a job or a career that you're truly passionate about, that you truly love, you were staying in a kind of 9 to 5 job, or, a job that you didn't love to pay the bills, because you were afraid that pursuing something that you did enjoy wouldn't provide you with the financial stability you were looking for. So, or something like that. It can be the same thing with a relationship, right? You were staying in a relationship that didn't really serve you, that didn't make you happy, that didn't make you feel loved or fulfilled or secure. But at least you weren't alone, right? It was like you were pursuing this relationship out of fear of being alone, instead of out of, oh my gosh, this is the relationship that I want. Now, this Wheel of Fortune is a card of positive changes. It's this, whether or not you've been able to see it at the time, or you were able to see it at the time or not, I still feel like you're still kind of dealing with the energy around it. These are good changes that are taking place in your life. Like, it's interesting because, again, it doesn't feel like it feels that way. And I'm not sitting here saying like if you're going through something pretty devastating, it doesn't mean that you're not allowed to feel that way. Of course you are. But just kind of zooming out the perspective and looking at the bigger picture, what I'm trying to say, and how the messages are coming through, is that things are happening for you, not to you, even if it feels painful at the moment, or if it did feel painful in the past. Recent past for Capricorn, please. Recent past for Capricorn, please. Ooh. You're tired of waiting for things to change. It feels like this Temperance is like this need to be a little bit more patient, because here's the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. This is what you're wanting. This is the ultimate opportunity that you're looking for. This is the change you're wanting to take place. Like the changes that are happening are actually like leading you here. But this is like this need to realize that you're needing to be a little bit more like patient in a way. Now, you might sit there saying, like, I have been patient for years, or I have been patient for, like, I've been waiting for however long. Now, remember, patience isn't just waiting. Patience is about what you do while you're waiting. Remember that a response to our reality is what creates our reality. The what goes into the emotions and the energy that we put into our current circumstances is going to be what creates our future circumstances. So if you look at your current circumstances and you give energy to frustration and lack and loss, or whatever the case is, you are kind of setting yourself up to experience more of that same energy. So that's why there's this need to kind of look within and say, like, okay, what have I been giving energy to? What have I been, what are the dominant emotions that run my life? Am I stressed out all the time? Am I frustrated all the time? Am I angry? Or do I give energy to trust and joy and gratitude, for what I currently have? Now, again, these aren't easy things to do. But when you start to watch, your reality shift based on the energy that you give to it, you start to realize that you are more in control of your circumstances than you realize. It's just that you've given up so much of your control. Well, okay, because you have released control, but you release control in two different. It's like you release control to gain control, because you release control of saying, okay, things have to play out exactly like I think, but you gain control by saying, if the more that I give, positive energy to my environment, the more I will experience positive energy, the more I will experience positive things, even if I don't know what those look like, those changes look like, or those circumstances look like. So you've been experiencing some frustration. I just feel like things haven't panned out the way that you wanted to. It feels more like things have like fallen apart than they are, kind of coming together. And I do feel like that's been intentional. I feel like the divine is making you kind of face a lot of these limiting beliefs that you have around something here. But let's look at your current energy. Because remember, you have perfect settings. So right now is the time for you to, make these changes. It's not that you stop waiting for things to happen to you, start creating them in a way. All right, Capricorn, let's look at your current energy. Current energy for Capricorn, please. What is Capricorn needing to see about their current energy? Nine of Pentacles in reverse with the World in reverse. You're doubting that you're ever going to be able to it's almost like reap the rewards. Like you've been putting in the work and you've been doing everything you know how, but I feel like the results haven't come. And I feel like that's been the most frustrating part, is you haven't experienced the results that you're looking for. Now, with the World in reverse, this is a cycle here. So you're in the energy of breaking a cycle. And with the Five of Swords here, this is, really kind of that you against the world mentality, believing that the universe doesn't have your back, believing that the universe isn't supporting you on your path. Now, it takes a while to really truly build that faith. So I don't want you to think that you're doing anything wrong. But with the Nine of Wands here, you are at the end, like approaching the end of a cycle. And the closer you get to an end of a cycle, the more intense things feel, the more frustrating things feel, the more emotional you might be, the more reactive you might be to your circumstances. Now, when you're in the end of a cycle, that really is the perfect setting, because you are setting yourself up to either end that cycle and experience, start to open yourself up to experience new cycles, or you go back to repeating whatever cycle that you're in. Before, we kind of jump into that, I want to look at what this cycle is, clarifying this World in reverse. The World in reverse for Capricorn's current energy, please. The World in reverse for Capricorn's current energy. Ooh, yeah. You've just felt, so there's the Two of Swords in reverse and the Ten of Pentacles. You felt like this Ten of Pentacles for you, this long-term stability, long-term happiness, long-term fulfillment, sustainable fulfillment too. I feel like you felt like it's always one day away. It's always one day away. Eventually, I'm going to get there. Eventually, I'm going to be happy. Eventually, I'm going to have the financial abundance I want. Eventually, I'm going to have the love that I want. And you've consistently manifested your abundance in the future. So you're in this energy of your happiness and your abundance and whatever it is that you're wanting being one day away. Not necessarily only one day away, but being, it exists in tomorrow. It doesn't exist in today. So there's this need to kind of pull yourself back to the present a little bit and start to focus on where you're at now versus where you were at a year ago. And start to give yourself credit for how far you have come in that year. Now, you might not be able to see materially how far you've come. It might feel like you're very much in the same place. But when you start to look at the person you were then and the person you are now, or like just like the little aspects of where you were and where you are, you'll start to see that you've actually come a lot farther than you realize. And I feel like there's this level to kind of give yourself, there's this need to give yourself a little bit more credit, because you're holding on. It feels like you're holding on to the way things have been. You're in your comfort zone of the way things have always been, and it's been difficult for you to break out of that, because the way things have always been is that your happiness exists in the future, your fulfillment exists in the future. And there's this need to realize that, first and foremost, nothing that you acquire in the future is going to make you any happier than you are today. Okay? Happiness comes from within. As within, so without. It will always be the case. Now, when you can create that happiness within, that happiness will be reflected at you in your circumstances. Let's get more for Capricorn's current energy. More for Capricorn's current energy, please. Inner child. I knew that was coming. This is the death of a cycle that's existed since you were a kid. The ending of a cycle that's existed since you were younger. And it's a cycle of lack, because you're used to experiencing and having less than what you deserve. Capricorn, it's just kind of been the way things were. Now, maybe you grew up without a lot of money, and maybe that's just always kind of been your fear, is that you're never going to have enough money. And I feel like it doesn't have to be that way, but this is just an example of a belief. Like, it's like you whatever belief you've experienced since you were a kid, of lack, not having the love that you deserve, even, like, it just feels like it goes deeper than just it goes deeper than just what you're experiencing now. It's that what you're experiencing now is the continuation of what you've experienced since, with this inner child energy. So you are really experiencing the ending of a cycle that's existed since you were a kid. So that's why it's been so difficult for these changes, for you to allow these changes to take place, because there's a part of you that's holding on to the way that things have always been. And oftentimes, we choose lack sometimes, not necessarily choose it, but we choose to believe more in our lack than our abundance, because we've experienced more lack than we have abundance. So we're going to believe that, we're going to be in lack, or that we're always going to be reaching, for our dreams, and they're never actually going to come to fruition, because it's always going to be, one day away, or it's always going to be in the future. And that's because that's all we know, right? And remember, our belief system is the root of our results. What we believe about our reality is going to be what we experience. And so if you believe that lack is all you're going to experience, then that's going to be what you continue to experience. So work on your belief system. Don't worry so much about what's going on in your surroundings. Worry about what's going on in your belief system. Current energy for Capricorn. Because there it is. Oh my gosh. Okay. You have the Six of Cups and the King of Wands in reverse. The way that your past has gone, what you've experienced in your past, and honestly up until now, has internalized this belief, because there's a world in reverse, that you are never going to be able to achieve what it is that you want to achieve. This is an energy of self-doubt. This is an energy of not believing that you are capable of pursuing the things that you want to pursue and being successful at them. It kind of comes down to fear of failure. So maybe you've experienced failure in the past. Maybe you've experienced, you obviously have, with this Three of Pentacles in reverse, you have experienced things kind of crumbling and falling apart and things to that extent. But it doesn't mean that that's what you always have to experience. It means you need to dive into your belief system and say, what about my belief system aligned with this? So that I can reframe those beliefs and get them to align with where I'm trying to go, as opposed to where I've been. Your past doesn't dictate your future. What you've experienced should not dictate what you're going to experience. You are in control of what you believe about your reality. Therefore, you are in control of your reality. You are not in control of what happens to you. You are not in control of when it happens to you, and you're not in control of how it happens to you. But you are in control of the way that you feel about your reality and the way that you experience. And if you can really internalize that and really understand that, then you stop being afraid of what's going to happen, because you start to realize that the experience and what actually happens actually isn't what matters as much. It's about your belief around it and your just how you, not what you experience, but how you experience it. That really truly matters. Now, it takes a while to get there because that's retraining a belief system that you've had since you were a kid, and if you're, 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, you've been believing the same thing about your life for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So of course, it's going to be difficult to break out of that, but it doesn't have to be. You don't have to, your life doesn't have to be the same as it always has been. You are allowed to believe in changes that are exciting and adventurous and fulfilling. Immediate future for Capricorn, clarifying, work through your feelings with assess the situation. Immediate future for Capricorn, clarifying, work through your feelings with assess the situation. Can Capricorn expect in their immediate future? Ooh. The Tower in reverse with the Eight of Wands. I want to get more on this Tower in reverse. This doesn't feel bad. This Tower in reverse doesn't feel bad. It feels like you are, because there's a change you've been avoiding. Something you've been avoiding. Something that, and there it is, the Eight of Swords in reverse. Which is, this, and there's death. Okay, which literally means change. And so this Eight of Swords in reverse, this talks about, this is my favorite card in tarot. This is releasing yourself, like what I've been talking about this whole reading, from those limiting beliefs that keep you trapped in believing what you've experienced instead of what you want to experience. If we don't make an active effort to retrain our belief system to be what we want to experience, we will always be a product of what we've experienced. And we don't want that. We don't want to always experience the same cycles and the same situations and the same relationships and different people, same financial situation. We want to experience growth and expansion and abundance in all forms. And the only way that we are going to be able to do that, the only way that you will be capable of doing that, Capricorn, is changing your belief system. And that's literally, it feels like whatever's coming towards you, I feel like these changes are kind of coming towards you pretty quick. And I feel like it might leave you in a little bit of like a, whoa, because it's happening so fast. Now, at the same time, the faster that you're able to release yourself from these beliefs, the faster that will manifest in the material world. But it also feels like these changes are what are going to help you release yourself from limiting beliefs. So it does feel like whatever is taking place is going to help you. That's why you have worked through your feelings, is because this is a lot of making sure you respond instead of react to what is coming your way. There's a Hangman in reverse because you've been holding on. You've been holding on to something that doesn't serve you, or to a belief that doesn't serve you, or to a lifestyle that doesn't serve you. Let me get more here on this Four of Cups and the Hangman in reverse. And this is changes. These changes are going to help you to let go a little bit, to release this control, to leave the past behind, to step into a new version of yourself. If you want to experience new, you have to become new. If you stay the same person, your experiences will stay the same. If you work on changing yourself, you will change your environment. And I feel like it feels like it's happening both at the same time. It's like the changes to yourself happen because of the changes to your environment, which create more changes to your environment. Because I feel like whatever's coming towards you, you could respond in two different ways. I feel like you could respond with fear, you could respond with faith. If you respond with fear, I feel like that repeats the cycle. If you respond with faith, I feel like that allows things to progress for you here. So keep that in mind in your immediate future. Pay very close attention to how you respond and make sure that you don't respond with fear, that you don't crawl back to your comfort zone, or that you don't recoil into, playing it safe, or whatever the case is, to allow yourself to be vulnerable and allow yourself to feel outside of your comfort zone, because that's where miracles happen. In any moment of our life, we have a choice to choose fear or faith. And if we find ourselves experiencing fear and allowing that fear to, consume us and overpower us, that's okay. Become aware of it, notice it, and then make the choice in that moment to choose faith. And that is how you shift your reality, because that is how you shift your belief system. Your subconscious is a a product of your habits, not just your actions, but what you've thought about. If you've thought over and over, I'm a failure, or this isn't going to work, or my abundance exists, tomorrow, those are going to become what you believe about your reality. All right, immediate future for Capricorn. So pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on within you, because it's going to give you a little bit more insight into how to make the changes you want to make, or how to handle the changes that are coming, whichever resonates more with you. Immediate future for Capricorn. There's the death. There is. It's like the ending of something that opens the door for a new beginning. I want more on this death with the Two of Swords in reverse. I want to know if we can get a little bit more information. I feel like it's just going to talk about a cycle, because this is a general reading. Clarifying this death with the Two of Swords. Clarifying this death card with the Two of Swords, please. Yeah. No, it's good, because it's like the ending of your past. And wow. So the Six of Cups, the Magician, the Strength, and the Fool. Like, this is crazy good energy, Capricorn. I don't think you need to fear these changes at all. And I don't even necessarily know if you do, but there's a part of you that does. Like, I don't know if you consciously do. Because it's ending the way things have been, so that you can step into this. Here. Trust me, what you're opening yourself up to is so much more than what you've been holding on to. So trust that, because it really is. This is kind of like I don't necessarily know if it's like a transformation of self, but it feels like a pretty intense energetic transformation or shift here. But I want to get more on this. So we're going to hop on over to the extended. Like I said, any information for that's in the description box below. We're going to clarify these messages, pull advice from the divine, and then I have an actual advice card to pull at the end. Thank you so much, Capricorn, as always, for the support of my channel. It means the absolute world to me. I do hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing on your journey moving forward. Bye, Capricorn.